Hello. In this particular recording, we are going to take a look at a few of the homework problems in Chapter 1. So I'm not really going to go over the multiple choice in this chapter. I think multiple choice is pretty self-explanatory. But of course, if you have any issues whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to explain it a little further to you. So the first question I wanted to go over after the multiple choice questions is more of a matching column. And basically in this particular exercise, we have a cost item that was given to us on the left-hand side. And what we need to do is we need to classify each of these cost items into one of the value chain business functions. And in the value chain business function that we took a look at in this particular chapter, we've got the different areas of the value chain. We have research and development, also known as R&D. We have design. We have production. We have marketing. And of course, we have distribution. And so let's take a look at the first cost item and see if we can make sense in matching them up with the business functions. So letter A, utility cost for the plant assembling the Latitude computer line of products. Now we are Dell computers in this example. So we're on the assembly line in the manufacturing plant, and all of the utilities, the electrical, the water, whatnot, all the utility costs. Well, because we are on the production line, I think it's pretty safe to say that this is part of the production business function. Letter B, distribution costs for shipping the Latitude line of products to a retail chain. Well, the word was already used in the cost item. This most likely is part of the distribution function. Letter C, payment to David Newberry Designs for design of the XPS 2-in-1 laptop. Well, they are helping in the design phase, which is right after the R&D. So I would say that's the design function. Letter D, salary of computer scientists working on the next generation of servers. Well, the computer scientists, what they're doing is they are working behind the scenes in trying to develop our new products for the future. This is commonly known as research and development. Letter E, the cost of Dell employees' visit to a major customer to demonstrate Dell's ability to interconnect with other computers. Well, we are actually making a visit to one of our major customers. This would be part of the marketing or customer service function. Letter F, purchase of competitors' products for testing against potential Dell products. So we are actually going out to the marketplace and buying our competitors' products. Kind of hard to believe, right? But if you really think about it, this is a good thing to do because we can actually look at our competitor's final product and we can test it as we decide what to build in the future. This would be most likely part of the research and development. Now, you can see here the author gives two answers. It could also be part of the design phase, where we've already done our R&D and we've already decided on what product that we are going to design. And we can use the competitor's product to see how well our new design stacks up. So two potential answers here. Letter G, payment to a business magazine for running Dell advertisements. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory. That's marketing. And then lastly, letter H, the cost of the cartridges purchased from an outside supplier to be used with Dell printers. Well, this is our cost as we are building our printers. This is part of production, which of course happens after the R&D and the design. Hopefully pretty self-explanatory to you. Once again, we have R&D, we have design, we have production, we have marketing, customer service, and distribution in the value chain. Okay, we also discussed in this chapter planning and control. So when we make decisions, when managerial accountants make decisions, it's either a planning decision or a control decision. A planning decision obviously is something we're making decisions before the product is actually produced, before the event takes place. A control decision, on the other hand, is really more of an evaluation after production. So let's take a look at these 5 actions and decide whether it belongs better in a planning or a control decision. Letter A, Gregor asks its advertising team to develop fresh advertisements to market its new product. So we're talking about, we have a brand new product, and we want to get all of our ducks in a row, and we want to get our other departments involved. The advertising team, the marketing team is a very important part of making sure that the product launch is going to be successful. This sounds like something that's happening before we hit the market. So I would say this is more of a planning decision. It's really not an evaluation, which actually B is. Let's take a look at B. Gregor calculates customer satisfaction scores after introducing its newest products. So this is after the fact. We've developed our product, we've distributed our product, and now we are getting feedback from our customers to see how well they like our product. This is a control decision. This is afterwards where we're evaluating our process. As is C. Let's take a look at C. Gregor compares costs it actually incurred with costs it expected to incur for the production of the new product. Well, this is an action that we cannot take until after production occurs, where we're comparing actual costs to budgeted or planned costs. This is a control. This is an evaluation after the fact. Letter D. Gregor's design team proposes a new product to compete directly with the Swiffer. So we're still in design phase here. We haven't mass produced. We haven't sold and distributed to customers yet. So this is a planning decision. And last but not least, letter E. Gregor estimates the cost it will incur to distribute 30,000 units of the new product in the first quarter of the next fiscal year. We are planning for the future. Okay, so once again, decisions are either planning decisions or control decisions. Planning decisions happen before we mass produce the product and distribute to our customers. Control decisions, on the other hand, are when we're evaluating after the fact. Okay, very good homework question. Hopefully you have a better handle on that. Okay, this next question is really the question about ethics. What are Mendez's ethical responsibilities? And the answer is D here. We have competence, integrity, and credibility. Once again, this is something we need to understand with our ethics. Managerial accountants, internal managerial accountants need to be competent. They need to have integrity and credibility. So this is something that is extremely important. Simple answer, but I would be remiss if I did not talk about ethics a little bit in Chapter 1. Very, very important. It should be the overlying theme of everything we do. Accountants should be very ethical. It's very important in the last couple of decades, especially after a lot of the turmoil in the economic events of earlier this century. Okay, this next question, we are dealing with strategies. So basically, for each of these 4 decisions, I'm only going to take a look at requirement 1 here. We need to state whether the company is following a cost leadership or a product differentiation strategy. So are we trying to be cost leaders, or are we trying to differentiate ourselves from our competitors? That's basically the question here. And once again, These are all everything I'm showing you here in Chapter 1 is all very important to the success and the future growth and sustainability of an organization. And like I said during the lecture, making sure that companies are one step ahead of the game and they're constantly evolving. It's a constant learning. You should never rest. And then, of course, the internal managerial accountants play a big role in that. Letter A. Julian Phones is about to decide whether to launch production and sale of a cell phone with standard features. So it's a standard feature. We're not trying to differentiate ourselves from our competitors. It's just something that's very similar to what our competitors. So I would say cost leadership. We are not trying to differentiate ourselves. It's not a product differentiation strategy. Instead, we're trying to be cost leaders here. Letter B. Flint Computers is trying to decide whether to produce and sell a new home computer software package that includes the ability to interface with a thermostat and a refrigerator. And here's the key phrase, the key sentence. There is no such software currently on the market. So we are thinking of trying to break into a new product that nobody else has. This is a product differentiation strategy. We are trying to be different than our competitors to break into a new market, to increase sales. Letter C. Maria Cosmetics has been asked to provide a store brand facial cream that will be sold at discount retail stores. Facial cream is common. It's not creating a new brand or it's not creating a new product. Let's put it that way. Facial cream is very common. We are just trying to be cost leaders in this situation. And lastly, letter D, Janssen Computers is considering developing a special line of computers that can be both a tablet and a computer. Although it's not specifically stated that there's no such special line of computers on the market, I think we can interpret that because we're using the word special line of computers, we're trying to differentiate ourselves in some way from our competitors. I would say probably the better answer here is product differentiation strategy. So hopefully you get a good flavor of cost leadership versus product differentiation strategy. Once again, very, very important when we are deciding, when we're in the research and development stage. Okay, in this next homework example, we're going to talk about managerial accounting guidelines. And the managerial accounting guidelines that were discussed in Chapter 1 are as follows. We have 3. Number 1, cost-benefit approach, where we're deciding on, is the additional cost going to give us, should we accept the additional cost because it's going to give her a bigger benefit than the cost? That's the cost-benefit rule. If the cost greatly outweighs the benefit, then we would decide against it. So that's number 1. Number 2, behavioral and technical considerations. A lot of times this has to do with salaries and payments and basically funding individuals for their work and trying to get them to be successful for our organization. And last but not least, different costs for different purposes. This talks about how you are analyzing costs, and you might analyze costs 2 different ways for 2 different purposes. Let's take a look at these 9 items and see which of these 3 managerial accounting guidelines applies. Number 1, analyzing whether to keep the billing function within an organization or outsource it. So we're deciding, should we keep it internal or external? Now, cost-benefit approach probably fits this best. What is more costly and what's going to give us more benefit? Number 2, deciding to give bonuses for superior performance to the employees in a Japanese subsidiary and extra vacation time to the employees in a Swedish subsidiary. So what we're doing is we're looking at our plants around the globe, and certain individuals in certain plants, they are going to be basically incentivized in a certain behavioral way. Behavioral and technical considerations. In a certain part of the world, they are going to be more motivated by money. In this case, we believe our Japanese subsidiary is going to be more motivated by extra money, bonuses. But over in Sweden, they don't want extra money. They want extra vacation time. So certainly this is something that we would consider. Number 3, including costs of all the value chain functions before deciding to launch a product, but including only its manufacturing costs in determining its inventory valuation. This is an example of different costs for different purposes. In one situation, we're going to look at all costs, but in another situation, it's more beneficial to us just to look at the manufacturing costs, maybe not the period costs for our purposes. So different costs for different purposes. Number 4, considering the desirability of hiring an additional salesperson. So obviously that comes with a cost. It comes with salary. It comes with commissions. Is it going to be worth it to us? So once again, is the cost going to outweigh the benefit, or is the benefit going to outweigh the cost? Cost-benefit approach is the answer. Number 5, giving each salesperson the compensation option of choosing either a low salary and a higher percentage sales commission, or a higher salary and a low percentage sales commission. Every salesperson works differently, and they're going to choose what would be better for them. This is more of a behavioral consideration. Number 6, selecting the costlier computer system after considering 2 systems. Well, the only reason we would select the costlier computer system if it gives us much greater benefits than the least costly one. So this is more of a cost-benefit decision. Number 7, installing a participatory budgeting system in which managers set their own performance targets instead of top management imposing performance targets on managers. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our managers involved with setting their own targets. Why? Because we want them behaviorally to meet their requirements, meet their goals. So this is, I would say, a behavioral consideration. Number 8, recording research cost as an expense for financial reporting purposes, which is required by GAAP, but capitalizing, meaning we're going to record it as part of the asset, and expensing them over a long period of time for management performance evaluation purposes. So what we're doing here is we are saying we're analyzing cost in a different way because of these 2 different purposes. And last but certainly not least, number 9, introducing a profit sharing plan for employees. Employees would be incentivized to make sure that the company is very successful. This is playing on the behavior of the individuals. Behavioral consideration is the appropriate answer here. And last but certainly not least, we are taking a look at some activities here, and we need to decide if this is something that would be performed by the CFO, which is the Chief Financial Officer, or the Controller. Controller would be one of the employees that would report to the CFO. Once again, the CFO is looking at more of the big picture financial items, and the controller would be looking at more of the detailed procedures. Okay, so activity number 1, managing the company's long-term investments. So we're looking at something where we're going out possibly many years, and we're just managing those investments. That's more of a big picture item. So I would say the better answer here is CFO. Activity 2, presenting the financial statements to the board of directors. Well, the board of directors is kind of looking at the general direction and setting policy of the organization. This is something that the CFO, once again, should be doing. Number 3, strategic review of the different lines of businesses. So this is not, look, this is a review. This is not a detailed look at day-to-day business. This is more of a top-level review. Once again, probably something the CFO should be doing. Next, budgeting funds for a plant upgrade. Now, when you get into the budget, you are looking at very detailed item by item, cost by cost, for each item. This is more detailed work. I would say the controller is probably going to be doing that, as well as the next one, managing accounts receivable. This is very detailed work. Some of you may have done this before in your organizations. Probably the controller would be in charge of that. Okay, next, negotiating fees with auditors. Well, the auditors, most likely the external auditors, they're coming in to provide an audit of the financial statements. This is a top-level situation here, activity. The CFO would probably take care of that. And the next two are more lower-level, detailed reviews, so that would be done by the controller. The first one, assessing the profitability of various products. So that is a detailed look at the cost accumulations and the cost assignments of various profits compared to their selling prices. That's where we got a lot to look at with the cost accounting system. And lastly, evaluating the costs and the benefits of a new product design. That's pretty detailed work. That's probably most likely done by the controller.